Good morning and welcome to a fresh edition of your breakfast show on television, Inside Nigeria. Today is Monday, March 18, 2024. And of course, we have an array of newspapers for review on this first segment of the show, including Nigeria's most influential newspaper, Leadership, a sister publication, National Economy. We'll flag off with Leadership. My name is Winifred Kukwebo, your host on the program. So let's flag off with Leadership. Leadership's headline story says, killing of soldiers, military lays siege to Bayelsa Delta Creeks. Killing of soldiers, military lays siege to Bayelsa Delta Creeks. Launches manhunt for killers, deploys gunboats. Several houses razed as monarch flees to Asaba. Killing of soldiers won't be tolerated, Tinubu warns. Of course, we also have the picture alongside that story, and this some of the houses being raised in Okwama community of Delta State yesterday. Of course, as you can see, houses are on fire. Killing of soldiers, military lays siege to Bayelsa Delta Creeks. Launches manhunt for killers, deploys gunboats. Several houses razed as monarch flees to Asaba. Killing of soldiers won't be tolerated, Tinubu warns. Headline story today, Leadership. Above that, scarcity of passports looms over 16 billion naira production debt. Scarcity of passports looms over 16 billion naira production debt. The story runs on page 7 of Leadership. And on the business column, despite harsh operation costs, cement makers post huge profits. Despite harsh operation costs, cement makers post huge profits. This is the story on the business boss of Leadership. And above the masthead, NJC alerts on plan to defraud retired judicial officials. Reps caucus wants Labour Party convention shifted. Barrow Port project far from completion, Niger communities lament. Putin wins another term as Russian president. Kaduna community releases names of 14 kidnapped victims. Lagos to push for special status, listing of LCDAs. The story is on page 29 of this day. With that, we move to the page 3 where we have our stand. Our stand on Leadership today is on still on health insurance coverage. Still on health insurance coverage. The editorial today on our stand page. We move to the back page model column with Dakuku Piti side. He writes on the states and the Black Art Nation. You have to log in to the website of Leadership to read more on that column. Continuation of headline stories, the editorial and inside stories, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move to its sister publication, National Economy. National Economy's leading story this week says, blackout, Nigeria suffers 215 grid collapses in 13 years. Blackout, Nigeria suffers 215 grid collapses in 13 years as outdated manual system worsens electricity situation in the country. How inflation is changing consumer behavior, you have to find out on page 8 of National Economy this week. And above the masthead of National Economy, Nigeria tops Africa in refined petrol imports from Europe. Federal government engages global banks for Eurobond, eyes $1 billion in loans. These are the headline stories on this week's National Economy. For continuation of these headline stories, inside stories, log on to the website of National Economy, www.nationaleconomy.com. From National Economy, we move to THISDAY. THISDAY still on the developing story of killing of soldiers. Tinubu says attack on our military men is attack on our nation. We won't accept it. Headline story today, THISDAY. Tinubu attack on our military men is attack on our nation. We won't accept it. Grants full authority to go after killers. Says criminals will face full wrath of law. Describes death of soldiers as needless. Atiku Obi senators others condemn act. Armed forces continue siege on Delta community. Search for killers set buildings ablaze. Soludo's second anniversary says Anambra hasn't seen anything yet. And about the mindset of this day, EIU report, federal government to raise VAT to 15% by 2027 to fund fiscal deficit. Predicts naira to weaken to 1,770 naira per dollar at year end. Declares may achieve relative stability at 1,817 naira per dollar in 2025. Says aggressive monetary policy tightening key to stronger currency. Foresees further rate hike in 2024 amid inflationary concerns. NPRO may fall to 12.5% in 2026. Predicts further exits of FDIs in 2024 amid naira losses. Headline story today about the masthead. EIU report federal government to raise VAT to 15% by 2027 to fund fiscal deficit. And beneath that, Shettima urges Nigerians to be patient with administration as hardship bites harder. Story runs on page 34 of This Day. For continuation of these headline stories, inside stories, log on to the website of This Day, www.thisdaylive.com. From This Day, we have Vanguard. Vanguard's headline story is also on soldiers' killings. Delta killings, troops lay siege to Okwama, raise more houses. Outrage trace murder of soldiers. Military deploys armored vehicles to Bomadi creeks. Have authorized military to fish out perpetrators. Tinubu is barbaric, unacceptable. Peter Obi is despicable. Governor Oborewori are totally unacceptable. Pandef. Officer sacrifices shall not be in vain. Northern senators said tell CDS. Urobo group urges probe. Ijo use condemn killings. The headline story, the riders to the headline story on Vanguard. Delta killings, troops lay siege to Okwama, raise more houses. And the second main story says how federal government funds petrol subsidy through crude sales proceeds. Kaduna abductions, Christian leaders fought government's approach. While we were suspended, pounded out of Zamfara, lawmakers. And in sports, Nigeria tightens grip on second spot in Midas table. NDLEA NAMS hairstylist for selling drug-laced chin-chin to students. Devolving more powers to states will bring socio-economic development, Governor Mba. And the stories about the mastheads, insecurity hampering food security. Catholic bishops, farmers raise alarm. Edo Guba, APC to unveil deputy governor candidate today. Obong Atta says why it's difficult to market Nigeria globally. Headline stories today on Vanguard. Today, March, Monday, 2024. That's the headline stories today. Monday, March 18, 2024. For continuation of these headline stories on Vanguard, you log on to the website www.vanguardngr.com. For Vanguard, The Guardian is last on our menu. Guardian's headline story says internet outage, trade payment suffer as service disruption may linger till April. Internet outage, trade payment suffer as service disruption may linger till April. Slain soldiers, Tinubu grants military full authority to pursue justice, silent on reprisals. Sanu Nasu begin nationwide strike today. Northern leaders, Serap seek probe of 3.7 trillion naira budget padding allegation. Senate reps hold secret hearing on new student loan bill. Katsina Zamfara governors knocked for boycotting security meeting. Cutting governance costs beyond Oronsaye report. That is the editorial on page 16 of The Guardian. Cutting governance costs beyond Oronsaye report. For continuation of these headline stories, inside stories, and the editorial, log on to the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng. And with that, we've come to the first segment of the show, Break Inside Nigeria, your breakfast show on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Bebo. Stay tuned as we bring on the second half with my Monday guest. Don't go away, stay tuned.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Inside Nigeria. Inside Nigeria is a breakfast show where we review and discuss front headline stories, trending stories in the country, and even beyond on leadership television. My name is Winifred once again, and I have my Monday guest with me in the studio. Is a political economist, Ali Elias. Ali, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. What is trending? Of course, the papers is awash today on data killings. But what happened, Ali? I missed that.
It's quite tragic and so pathetic. My heart goes out
Like
to
I
those,
was discussing earlier with a colleague. I said, of all the security officers to kill soldiers, of course, you're not going to have it easy when you kill a soldier.
Well, the fact is that when I got to hear about the incidents, two things came to my mind. Why would two major, lieutenant, and high-ranking officials actually they are involved in
yes, that was what I was told.
So for me,
that is a fight between two warring communities,
right?
And of course, one had the pleasure of having maybe these compliments of soldiers on their side,
right?
And the other warring side didn't take kindly to that. Of course, to make a mincemeat of them, they resort to that dastardly act.
But it's so sad that we lost such high-ranking officers of the military. But the thing is, if you look at it very well, it appeared as a part of intel on the other side. So some must have informed the community that carried out this bad dastard act. Some must have informed them, and because someone informed them, they planned very well for them. So and that's brought about the challenge. Because if you look at the problem that actually happened, those soldiers did not come for maybe war or fight. If you look at it, because if they had come for war, they would have come in large mass and with weapons. So it's like they are going to really make amendments or intervene in a subtle way. But before we know, it's so sad that kind of thing actually happened.
Of course, they wouldn't have come in that kind of detachment, but since it was a personal matter,
right?
In that wise, they want to come, of course, use their influence. Maybe if they see them with their influence, maybe the warring on that partner will back down. But unfortunately, they were not going to do that. But one thing that also comes to my mind is all the killings too and the reprisal. The data community, are they not aware?
Well, the fact is that if you look at, they said President Tinubu split fire. The thing is, I'm convinced they will pay for it because it's quite unfortunate to carry out such act. However, I think there's what we call military civil relationship, and they have a director for it in military. So I think they should do more about sensitizing our public, because they are not taking the role of Nigerian police. Ideally, soldiers shouldn't have gone for such intervention. Should have been police-related issues. But because Nigeria, as it were, I'm sure Nigerian army are in about 35 out of 36, if not for the whole 36.
Yes, because it's the police that is supposed to maintain law
exactly. And order. So that's the thing. So I think, but it's a bad one, and they should also prepare for such
as it is now, you see that the innocent that suffer it most. We have situation whereby, with what is happening now, the women, the children are also going for it. Not to talk about the loss of lives and properties, the aftermath of it.
Well, the thing is this: if there is two issue between two warring faction or community or ethnicity, as it were, I think it's much more of policing thing, because now the community are going to suffer it now.
That's
because
what I'm saying.
Military will besiege the place. They try to, but I can tell you those that carry out that act must have fled.
Yes. They must have fled.
But my own what I want the military to actually do is that who actually gave them that intel that they are coming, because they lay ambush for them. If it's a proper war, even the assistant soldier, if there is 100 mob, they can still stand if they have the right weapon. So it shows that the military that did not prepare to go and fight or to go and encounter such things. So my heart goes out to them, and I think we should activate more of our military-civil relationship, because if we don't activate it, such thing can still happen. Because we also need to see military. Okay, let me give you an example. If you go to advanced country, even in Joburg, just Africa here, when you want to board a plane, they say the first people to board is the military. That's a signal that these people are sacrificing for us every now and then. That consciousness would have come to you if you go to US, the same thing, that these are military people, they're always coming to defend us, they're not coming against us, because it shows that those that ambush them knew or have an intel that they are coming to against them or fight them. So that's those. Perhaps there's also intel now that there's a particular leader that have the political power that could have invited the military.
Them. Of course,
so this is another
like
side of the story.
Yes, that's just what happened. They invited them. Like a colleague was just telling me that one of the warring communities has somebody at is it Nimasa?
Yes, made mention who invited. Even they even talked about paying of 8 million or what
just like what you said.
To procure some things, all those negative information. I think because it cannot be ordinary ethnicity or group personal issue that will now bring you to that level that people will now.
Perhaps there should be, just like what you said, more information and orientation that about soldiers and civilian relations, because soldiers are not supposed to be involved
at all. They are supposed to really be externally defending us, not coming to internal, and that's why we have issue, and that's why major problem we're having now is degenerating, because the police are supposed to do this work. You understand? You are bringing the army. Even I can also tell you, if it's police, they would have asked for information before they go. But I mean, you don't want to ask anything, just enter. And that's I'm telling you, because police would have understudied the case, call people and to know, or send people on mufti to go first to understudy things, or have people in them.
Like the DSP that was also killed in Rivers State. You see, they are still on that issue, tracing.
Right.
No, I'm corroborating what you said.
So
they are still,
military are not trained to that level to look for local intel, but international ones. So that's the problem.
Where will this lead to? Because as it is, President Tinubu has also called on the military to fish out perpetrators. So where will that lead?
I wouldn't want to blame President Tinubu, because these are military that are doing enough for Nigeria, and they don't want to dampen their morale. They have to give them all the support. Recall, Obasanjo did not take it lightly.
Yes,
he didn't take it lightly when it happened. So, and I think this direction is also good, so that it will stand as a warning to other people that want to think. They have to think twice. I remember what happened in Odi.
But they didn't.
I don't know what will happen in Ogeli. I think it's in Ogeli, so I don't know what happened so far. But I think they should also have a human face. When things has happened already. If you want to carry out make sure you look for the actual perpetrator, so that people that does not know anything will not be victims.
All right. Thank you so much for that. It's so unfortunate. I hope I don't want to call it reprisal comes to an end soon. Now, still on leadership, despite high operation costs, cement makers post huge profits. Is this not scandalous?
Well, I think if they are posting profit now, that profit would have been from the year, right? But the thing is, I think government is also not doing what they're supposed to do. There should be a kind of liberation, or how do I call it? A kind of freedom for people to work on because if you look at it now, they are becoming what do you call it, cartel. We have cartel now in cement. So if you open it, because I remember Dangote brought over Boham, is the major player in that. So that simply means 2-3 of them who are Dangote can sit down and decide on what happened, and Lafarge. So I think government should open it more, give more license to people, support them, and perhaps even open the border. If there's competition, it won't be like this.
But that was what the federal government threatened to do when they had them in meeting, called them for a meeting in order to bring down the cost.
Government should have do action.
How much is a bag of cement?
Well, the last I heard is around 8,000 to 10,000.
Okay.
So, and I think if that is it, if that is the price, people would not be able to be, because purchasing power is even low already, and now we now have such a hike in price. Now, in fact, you could see some landlords now, they're increasing their prices.
Yes.
Cement is actually on the
meanwhile, they
increase.
built their house
For
years
like
ago.
20, 10 years ago. So this is pathetic. So I think government should stop calling some people to negotiate with them. Government should just put an action into things. Why should we have only 2-3 people, you know,
Major
in that
players,
major
exactly.
player? They should open it. In fact, that's why I always have a challenge with people like Ibeto. Remember, Ibeto is a senior player,
Yes.
but now he has gone down. What is government doing? Only to really support, because you can't say because you want to empower some people will worse off. And when they worse off, remember, manufacturing sector is worse off. Remember also, you are killing unemployment. Yes, you are increasing unemployment, you know, and your GDP. So I think government, we are a big country. It's bad that we have only 3 major players. It can be as many as 10, 20. Let them play. The market is always there. So we don't have you know, having one person taking the largest share. And the same thing is happening in oil and gas sector very soon. You know, the same thing is happening in sugar. You know, a lot of things are happening like that. So if you look at Dangote, I think he has that how do I call it, way of making sure that he dominates every sector is playing in.
Okay. Well, the federal government threatened that they were going to give more licenses, or better still open the borders, but we've not seen that happen.
Well, I think it's more of rhetoric. It's lip service for me. Why should you even be telling them that? You know, make the process very easy for people. Let people
And
access it.
because these are people that have laid, you know, I wouldn't want to use the word siege or what. They've been major players in the cement.
And they are discouraging infant
Exactly.
industry. They don't want other players to come into the business. So no new entrance. But I think it's government. Government is not making it easy for people. And I think National Assembly should also intervene in something like this by making sure that they make it more liberal, that people can easily come into the business and do the business, because Nigeria will be worse off in the long run.
All right, thank you so much. Still on the economy, these days has report that EIU report that federal government will raise VAT to 15% by 2027 to fund fiscal deficit. Is there no end in sight for our economy?
Well, it's quite pathetic that we keep on applying cosmetic approach to our economic solution, right? Now, that's why I said there's a big disparity.
VAT is 17.5. Now you now have a
15%. You know,
double.
That's my challenge now. 7.5. You need to say.
Sorry, 7.5.
7.5. So now
have
my challenge is that monetary policy, fiscal policy, and trade policy are now counterproductive, because now you are making sure that there's inflation. I mean, you are trying to control inflation, and you are reducing money, and now you want to also use fiscal policy to stifle people again. I don't know what kind of economy we are trying to really push out. So things are getting difficult for people. Manufacturing is finding it difficult to even produce. Now you want to increase VAT from 7.5 to 15%. Do you think? And you want foreigners to come and invest in Nigeria? You want infrastructure to grow? This is quite discouraging, and I'm convinced they will not want to go in this direction. Because once you go in this direction, you have killed the Nigeria economy. Okay,
and they predict Naira to weaken to 1,770 and stabilize at 1,817 in 2025. That is next year. However, there are some debates. I'm going somewhere. There were some debates recently that the only way you can have a stable economy is to have, at least, even if you don't bring the ratio of Naira to dollar where it was before APC administration, at least bring it to during Buhari's time. That was at 700 and something or 800 and something. So how feasible is that? Is that at least with that you can actually have manageable economy? But how feasible is that?
You know, for you to see a result of economy, there must be stability, and that stability must last for at least a month and beyond. Now, the way things are going now, and that's why I always say this government are only reactive; they are not proactive.
They're not proactive.
One, you went to Binance and say Binance is your problem. Now you have dealt with Binance. You went to Bureau de Change. Say Bureau de Change is your problem. You have dealt with them. No solution. You push EFCC to go out after some people. Now I
And
think
the
we are
interest rate, too, don't forget the NPR that
exactly.
we had at 22.
So I think the major problem 22.1 or so.
75
So right, I think our major problem is we are not looking at the major problem, and that's why I say this government is always reactive, not proactive. Up till now, there is no policy direction for our economy. Now, if you want to really find stabilization for dollar, first and foremost, you have to go and revisit your forex policy. That's one. Number two, you have to find way of exporting, because if you don't export, what will you use to actually compete? So and that's why it's quite surprising that you float your naira without having a shock absorber to actually meet up what this. So I think they are just being cosmetic, looking for approach that does not really work. 3 approach have been carried out. You have fight Binance, you have fight Bureau de change, you have increased NPR. Even at that, we are still having problems. So I think they should go back to the drawing board and look at the major economic problem. Insecurity is a problem. Foreign exchange is a problem. Exportation, and now you want to also make sure that you have a balanced foreign exchange. You want to raise VAT to 15%. So how? It's quite difficult, and I don't know how Nigeria will go out of this quagmire. We must focus on the real issue and stop approaching it with cosmetic approaches.
Now, on the issue of import and exportation, the NNPC said they were going to start refining our petrol by March ending.
They say next month.
Exactly.
Definitely. So let's even give and take by March ending.
What impact will that have on the economy?
When
we refine our petrol?
I think we should see it happen first, because it was promised December.
Yes.
From December to January. From January to now, we are expecting it in March ending. Well, the thing is, if our refinery is working, I think it will push down the challenge of dollar and forex, because that would have tamed the transportation.
Is that for our marketers?
Exactly, for marketers too. But however, it does not really. It will not translate to better economy for Nigerians, because as at now, it is still an
but it to take care of some supply demand by our marketers.
Even that's to better marketers. What about citizens? Because the thing is that it's still NNPC only that is still important. So if you are still giving, and LFC give them at the particular, and that's where they are going to collect it at the same from the refinery. So it doesn't really make meaning to Nigeria. However, the only benefit is that it may have a multiplier effect on the supply side of dollars. That is, and perhaps it will now bring the dollar to maybe a particular level we are expecting. So if you don't have dollar within 1,000 for now,
and would that also impact on the price of fuel pump?
Fuel price, I don't think I don't see it happen. Yes, because like I said, it is still there. It is the NNPC that is important.
They are not going to be paying landing costs if they were importing.
Who is paying landing costs? If I ask, who is paying it? It's still NNPC.
Okay.
So you are still going to buy from them. Marketer doesn't have. Marketers still buy at the rates NNPC is selling to them. So if landing cost, it is when if marketer is one importing it, that's why you see landing costs. You'll be saying it will remove. But now NNPC is still making sure. That's why we said there is still what we call it. There are still what do we call it when you reduce amount on behalf of citizen. Remind me the words. There is still subsidy. They are still fixing in subsidy, because the landing cost is not what they are selling it to the marketers, not even Nigeria in this case. Marketer will now sell it at a particular price. So for me, but let's even see it working. If it works and it's work for like 6 months, we can now see the maybe multiplier effect cascading down to common man after 6 months.
Thank you so much. Well, still on that note, Shettima urges Nigerians to be patient with administration as hardship bites harder. So
those people that died during custom rice imbroglio, so you want them to be patient after they are dead. So that's a good example of it now. And the hunger is still biting and biting hard. If you look at the last Bureau of Statistics report, you see that the cost of food is still rising. It's still rising. So you see that it's still rising compared to January, and that's a negative one. So what is government doing to actually, and in a particular station
I'm wondering and I'm questioning, is it that is the sellers themselves that are not doing that, or what are we having on our hands? Because I was at the market this weekend and I was appalled by what the prices I was hearing.
I think the problem is that there is food in Nigeria, because I didn't buy
Yes,
into there is no food.
there
The
is
problem is
food
that we don't
everywhere.
have purchasing power. But don't blame the marketer, or don't blame the market woman. That's what we call food supply chain. You remember Tinubu said he's going to he declared emergency on food supply chain. Now, if you want to buy a goods from Kedi, I want to take it to Anambra to sell. Remember, you're going to pay transportation, and transportation is after first subsidy removal. In fact, the cost of purchasing that item is not as expensive as the cost of transporting it. So who will pay? It is still people that want to buy in the markets now. You have to transfer your costs into what you are selling, and people will buy from it. So don't blame market woman. Some people say they are bad. No, it's what they buy they're actually selling. Because if you buy, you have to add transport costs. So when transport cost is now beyond what you buy, you still have to sell it. So for me, I think government need to do something on food supply chain. There must be an emergency, really emergency, not the one we are hearing.
And just like what you pointed out earlier, if you want to fix food security, you have to also fix insecurity situation in the country. Even Catholic bishops has also raised their
I agree with him, because
we are not really doing much
exactly
in that area.
So that's
why
the
is
problem.
it that the federal government is somebody said we are pretending, we are using like Senator Shehu Sani said that you are using deodorant to kill corruption. Why we are using sledgehammer to kill what this say? Because look at the situation, but we are not tackling it headlong.
I think we are not ready.
We
why I
started
said
during
so?
during the period of Buhari, and of course we thought is the effect that Nigerians are feeling now.
I think our military and our police have initial ground. Remember when the current IG he said, I'm going to roar like this, I'm going to do this, but what happens now? That means mere lip service. So we need to do more practical thing. Maybe for me, I think there should be a much more consensus on how to really fight insecurity. Because if you look at it now, it's going beyond even carrying guns. You have to go to approach the non-kinetic approach to actually solve the problem. Because if we continue like this, people now there's urban. I read it in this your beautiful paper, National Economy. There's urban migration, and what is causing urban migration? I can mention area plenty area in Abuja here now. People from Goza, people from some those war-torn, those insurgency area are coming down to the city because there is no proper education. Your children cannot go to school. You are always apprehensive. A lot of things are happening. So it's bringing more challenge to the urban city, and people that are supposed to farm are also leaving the farm and looking for what they will do in the urban. So it's a serious issue. If you don't tame it now, it might come to really.
Because we remember then when Boko Haram beheaded some farmers that went to the farm, and we saw the federal government even blaming the farmers for going to the farm without prior notice.
Imagine. So you have to ask for notice before you. In fact, in some community now, you have to contribute as farmer and pay to those people
just for them to
that they should allow you to go
access.
to the. I have a friend who have a large farm around Kaduna. He said he has abandoned it. He cannot go there to access it because even he tried to use people to access it. He said it's not possible. So that is those little things come together to really have effect on Nigeria economy.
All right, thank you so much. Now let's move to our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy says blackout. Nigeria suffers 215 grid collapses in 13 years. Even since 2 years, Nigeria has even experienced up to 7-8 grid collapses.
So who manage our grid? That's another question.
Exactly.
So now we have we have 3 way now. We have the GENCOs, we have the transmission, and we have the discos. So the GENCOs are to actually generate, and it's privatized. So the transmission is not privatized, which is government, and that is their own area. So we should come back to blame federal government now that this grid is under your purview. It is not privatized, so it is public. So what are you doing to it? Because if you have 215 grid collapse, that means they are all old. So what are you doing to really make sure you are proactive? Because there's still likelihood that by tomorrow another one will still collapse, because that means they are old. It's 30 years and 40 years and above. So I think maybe government should come back here now and privatize it if that will bring a solution. Because it has been unbundled now. Even with that unbundle, I wouldn't know, I have to go and read further on it. Do they also unbundle the transmission part of it? Because if you have to generate and to transmit becomes a problem, and grid is always collapsing.
However,
it brings about serious problem.
there's a report that the TCN said they actually transmit, but it's the discos that are not distributing it enough. They are not distributing
so
it.
So the grid that collapse is who's
okay, no, it's just what you pointed out.
So right now, discos, I think discos too, for me, they are only portfolio business people who never invest in our electricity sector, and it's our fault. I remember when the minister said they are going to withdraw license. I was looking at him that this is story, because I am sure they cannot do it, because if you look at who actually owns all these discos, it's clear that they are big and very big to tackle to an extent. So until we review even their license itself, so that we can have, but I have hope. What I expect President Tinubu to do now is to encourage all governors to make sure
with this electricity act that was signed.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. With this electricity act, it should now encourage government, state governments, subnationals to go invest. Like NDDC can come together, Lagos and Oyo can come on, and maybe it's much closer. Two of them will have their own, but have it from generating, transmitting, and what distributes. That will solve our problem even in 2 years, because I'm sure they can have a good.
Now we have Abia State as a case study.
Right. But in the case of Abia State, is a case of Alesoti has been financing through bank that project, and is over. Remember Batinaji since then, and that's part of what will bring about trouble for Batinaji. Because they said he's doing private and why was it? So I think that's a very good example. If others, I think Lagos started somehow halfway, so we hope they will also continue. Then other states like Delta, very big states, yes, they can do it. Even NDDC can even do it, and NDDC have a lot, they can do it exactly, and also have, so we can also have regional hub like Northeast can come together and have one that they will distribute. So if there is competition, I think even these discos, they will sit tight and offer people good service as expected.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, just before we go, just a question that came to mind with this electricity act signed into law, and of course we've seen that the National Assembly has passed second reading the state police. What more do we still want for restructuring? And how these not tools for restructuring?
They are tools of restructuring, but I think we should stop doing padding. I mean, maybe when you let it padding.
Except for economic.
No, what I'm saying now is that we should stop packaging our constitution. We can review holistically. Every time you bring one part, two part,
Appease me.
So we can actually look at it. Is now that Oronsoye recommendation is now coming to where the National Assembly has created about 1,000 agency thereafter, because then it was around 300. Now it's about 1,300 and something. So what do you do? So for me, I think it's just dead on arrival. So what will you review? Will you review back to 300? It's not possible now. 1,300 to 300, it's not possible. So I think every action, so the government should make sure they take it immediately, take that correction immediately, and see it work. We are in a good direction. But for me, do you think state police will still scale through?
It will, just because of this, what you just pointed out, the insecurity is not going down, is still alarming.
Because that would have solved the problem. Because it will be local. In my community now, if an external person is coming, they know who is who. They can even ask you, who are you? Who do you want to? Just like an estate that has a gate. So they say call him before those things would have made more sense. Given the pervading insecurity situation in the country, I think it has generated to a level that we need immediate solution, and the main solution is state police. If we say because governor will abuse it, what about the masses? You have to look at who will worse off when you're taking a policy, and who is going to better off. If that are better off and more, I think we should go ahead with it.
All right, thank you so much, Ali Elias. That is our takeaway from today's breakfast show, Inside Nigeria. Of course, with that, we've come to the end of today's show. My name is Winifred Ubebo, your host on the program. and my modern guest, political economist Aliu Elias. Thank you so much for joining in on the
Thank you for
program.
having
Don't
me.
forget to join us at 12 for news at noon. On this note, I say goodbye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert
Ah,
please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership.